Short turnaround this week. Lots to get ready for as the Dolphins host the Ravens tomorrow night on Thursday Night Football. We get into a lot of layers here today on Locked On Dolphins.
You are Locked On Dolphins, your daily Miami Dolphins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to another episode of Locked On Dolphins. It is your team every day here on the Locked On Network. I'm your host, Kyle Krabs, a lifelong Miami Dolphins fan, host of Locked On Dolphins, co-host of Locked On NFL Scouting, author of Touchdown Miami on Substack, NFL staff writer for A to Z Sports. I want to give a special welcome and shout out to our everydayers because it is your team every day. We don't just say it, we live it. You're on the Locked On Network. Today's episode of Locked On Dolphins is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code Locked On NFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Now, here today on the show, latest trade deadline buzz, momentum for Thursday as far as things that are building towards being how this game plays out a little bit. I have crossover Thursday, recording this evening with Kevin Ostreicher. That'll run first thing in the morning tomorrow. Quick turnaround because we got the game tomorrow night. And then I do have a receipt that I want to cash here on the show in segment 3 as we celebrate the wins as we get them because there aren't too many to celebrate. But we're going to start with the latest trade deadline buzz. And there's been some pretty significant weighing in across multiple insiders from multiple outlets. And the consensus is kind of this. There is an expectation that the Dolphins are going to make some kind of move between now and the trade deadline next Tuesday. Now, explicitly what that is, how big of an offer that is, it largely at this point, there was some buzz for Jalen Wright. It feels like running back has kind of faded off. There's some other notable names that are out on the market and could be available that would be splashier names. And I don't think would cost you an arm and a leg. So maybe that's cut off the opportunity there for Miami to transition from a player that hasn't gotten a lot of run this year, although Jalen did get involved in the game on Sunday against the Falcons, and that was great to see. It's this edge rush room and this edge rush situation, whether it's the NFL Network guys, whether it's the ESPN guys in particular, Adam Schefter and Jeremy Fowler, both of them have kind of communicated they expect something to happen. Schefter said yesterday or Monday on his podcast that he expected the Dolphins will move, quote, at least one of their edge rushers and named Bradley Chubb and Jaelan Phillips by name. Whether they win or lose, I don't think those two things have to be mutually exclusive. I said that this afternoon on the Locked On Dolphins squad show with Jim Grieshauer and Jeff Scanina, which was an hour. We went live. It was a lot of fun. And I also said it on Tuesday morning on the Joe Rose Show. I think you can simultaneously be trying to save your jobs by winning games and have an eye towards the future and have an honest conversation about who is and is not a piece of that puzzle. Now, with that being the case, you have to ask yourself one of two things. Is this player being here to the end of the season guaranteeing us that we're not going to get anything for him or not? There's really two players that I think the answer to that question is you would not get anything for this player if you kept him through the end of the regular season. And there's one player in this edge rush room where I don't think that answer is true. And that falls in line with what Jeremy Fowler had to contribute on this. And this came out today. Okay. I'm going to read you the snippet from ESPN. It's not paid content, so I'm going to read you the whole blurb. Well, the Dolphins might not be moving a bunch of players at the deadline. They are open to trading pass rusher Matthew Judon. Okay. Yeah, he's the name I keep hearing most when it comes to their rushers. Yeah, because he was a healthy scratch 2 weeks ago, and he keeps giving up runs outside. Teams across the league say Jaelan Phillips has the most value of Miami's edge rushers, but there's not much buzz that Miami is motivated to move him so far. Overall, Miami is not punting on the 2025 season and will treat the trade deadline as such. From what I was told, the Dolphins won't shut it down or won't shut down a good deal, but they're not shopping a litany of key players. So Phillips, I think, is the player. And if you look at it and say, hey, we can move this player now and get something for him, or if we keep him, he's the player I think you have a chance to still get something for when it is all said and done anyway. And the reason for that is I don't expect with the Dolphins' cash and cap situation that they're going to be big spenders in free agency. So just like a la Javon Holland, you could be in a position to recoup a compensatory pick if you let Jaelan Phillips walk. Chase Young signed a $13 million one-year contract a few years back, and I think that's the profile for Jaelan Phillips. I missed majority of 2 seasons with injuries. Very clearly has physical talent and can play. But you're worried about a long-term commitment. So I think when you adjust for cash or just for cap, Phillips is probably looking at a 1-year deal, $16 to $18 million, like be my guess. If teams gave him the Chase Young treatment, it's going to qualify for a compensatory pick. That's probably a 4th-round draft pick. So if you want Jaelan Phillips, you have to come in at least above that to start the conversation in my mind, because that is a player I could see wanting to have a long-term future with as well, depending on how this season plays out and where he puts his own market and what the production looks like and who's running the football operation and how much you want to open the door for wholesale changes to your pass rush room, right? Like there's a lot of layers to that, and there's a world and a price point in which I would want Jaelan Phillips back because I love Jaelan Phillips as a player. It's been unfortunate luck with injuries the last 2 years. One was an Achilles that popped, and the other one was friendly fire because Jordan Poyer doesn't know what way is up. So for all the buzz, Phillips is the player you could get something for if you held on to, and he's also the player that you could have a future with. Matthew Judon, that's a pick swap like we just saw what happened with the Patriots and the 49ers with Keon White. That happened last night. We're going to send you Keon White and a 7, and you're going to send us a 6, right? That's what would happen with Matthew Judon, with what his play has been like this year, what his contract situation's like. And that was a player that signed late last year, or late with the Dolphins. So there's a window where if you leave in free agency as an expiring contract, you have to sign by a certain time to qualify as a compensatory pick. Judon wasn't signing in that window last year. I don't think that would change this next year upcoming. So I don't think there's anything that you're surrendering long-term or alternative by moving from Judon now. And I think he's the player that makes the most sense to move on if he has any interested names. Bradley Chubb is probably the best mix of potential value to a team because I think he's playing better than Judon is. But the contract's really ugly as far as there's incentive money that a team would have to be aware of and be willing to pay. And then there's multiple years of non-guaranteed money that you'd have to cut off. Now that goes back to the Patriots again. They did a deal with the Steelers for Kyle Duggar last night as well. That was an ugly contract that the Patriots agreed to pay the vast majority of the outstanding balance on. And then they did the same pick swap that they did with the 49ers. They did. So it was Duggar and a 7 for a 6. And the Steelers said, you could tear out the rest of the years of their contract. We don't want to have any non-guaranteed years. You can hit free agency after the year. That's probably what you could get for Bradley Chubb, is a late round pick swap. Probably have to eat some money and move him off the books, but you are alleviated and you can expedite the process of transitioning away from his 2026 and 2027 cap commitments, and you are free of the incentive money. That to me is probably the most worth it. So Schefter says probably I expect them to move one of their edge rushers, Jaelan Phillips or Bradley Chubb. I know of at least one team that's very interested in Jaelan Phillips as the backup to their pursuit plan for Trey Hendrickson, who doesn't sound like he's getting traded because the Bengals think they can float around. So you keep that dream alive, I guess. I'm kind of down with Miami saying, hey, you want some pass rush help? We want to move somebody. unless you're going to blow our doors off with an offer here for Jaelan Phillips, there's contingencies by holding on to Jaelan that you don't have with the other two guys. Because if you don't trade Bradley Chubb, you're going to just cut him before the league year starts in March and create $7.5 million of cap space. And that's all that's going to happen there. You're not going to get anything for him because nobody's going to sign up for the $20 million salary. So your exit window is now for that one. And Judon's not going to be in a position to have a compensatory pick because he's probably not going to sign on time. So let's make a deal. And I don't think moving off of either one of those guys shuts the door on Miami still trying to save their jobs. You could have your cake and eat it too in that scenario. And I support not having a fire sale because now you're needlessly stripping it down for lesser with players. You don't have to go all the way down to the foundation every time you hit reset if that's where this season is headed. That's how I feel about it, though. A momentum for Thursday. Speaking of Bradley Chubb, we're going to talk a little bit more about him and a few other Dolphins players in just a minute. Make sure you guys stick with us. Mazda crafts cars for those who do more than simply move. Mazda delivers confidence with every ride with more IIHS Top Safety Pick Plus awards than anyone else as of August 2025. From footwork to breathwork, athletes sweat all the details. Mazda brings this same intention to how they craft every model. You can feel the Japanese craftsmanship in every detail, from the metallic accents to the available Nappa leather upholstery. You can make everyday drives feel like anything but, from smooth handling to intuitive controls. With all-wheel drive standard in every crossover SUV, you can drive with confidence through almost any season, including football season. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, impossible becomes irrelevant. Mazda, move and be moved. NFL season is here. There's nothing quite like being at the stadium. If you want to spontaneously get down to the Rock for Thursday night football tomorrow night, surrounded by fans cheering on the Dolphins, you should. And you could get your tickets through Game Time, because not getting your tickets through Game Time means you're subjected to a whole bunch of stressful experiences with the ticket buying process, like queues, login screens, prices jumping at checkout. You name it. Game Time gives the advantage back to fans. It's fast, easy, and it's backed by the Game Time guarantee. You always get 100% authentic tickets delivered on time and at the best price. Fees are included, so there's no surprise fees when you put the tickets into your cart. And go check out. They also have panoramic views so you can see the sight lines from the seats before you hit buy. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, that's promo code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download Game Time today. So we should probably start with the Baltimore side of things for this game, where Lamar Jackson, it certainly sounds like Lamar is going to play. And I'm glad that Lamar Jackson is going to play, because the same thing that we said when this team started, 0-2? And there's some question about who's going to dress for the Bills, and 0-3. And a question was if the Jets were going to have X, Y, or Z players. I don't want to face teams that are down significant amounts of players, right? You could talk, and we do talk on this program, about what it means for the matchups and the X's and the O's and what the game plan looks like and how the path to victory changes with or without players in the lineup. But I don't want to face a bunch of banged up teams that are hollow shells of themselves, and acknowledging full well the Dolphins are amongst the league leaders in AAV and contract value that's not on the field this year, right? You're starting right tackle, you're starting right guard. Those two guys combined on an annual average salary basis, that's about $23 million. Tyreek Hill's about $30 million, right? It's $55 million in three offensive players in annual average salary that you don't have out on the football field. But if we're evaluating the team, navigating challenges, navigating personnel issues, problem solving through player availability is all a part of that process, right? That's all a part of the coaching experience. The objective is to not have a roster that doesn't get hurt at all throughout the course of a season. The objective is to have as many resources at your disposal to go into any given week based on the adversity that you've been handed from a football is a game of attrition standpoint, and solve the problems to find a formula to win a football game. So I don't want to face Snoop Huntley on Thursday Night Football. It's like I wouldn't want to face the Bills without Josh Allen and get a win that way so I could feel better about myself. If you're going to win the damn game because you earned it against the players that are the players that the other team has. Because we're trying to figure out where we fit on this spectrum with Mike McDaniel, and we're trying to figure out where we fit on the spectrum with players on the roster, and we're trying to figure out where we fit on the spectrum from player personnel and who is on the roster and what you needed more of and who's made fatal mistakes and who needs to go and who needs to stay and what it needs to look like and this, that, and the other thing. I generally have my opinions. I generally believe like this team would have benefited this past offseason from somebody new at the top of the football operation in charge of making the final say on all the personnel decisions to bring us a different set of eyes in here. I felt that back in January. I loved the coaching changes that we saw in week 8, but I do want to know why it took till week 8 to see him. We had to get to a bottoming out against the Browns and say, hey, if we change our style of play, we'll change our style of play. Well, lo and behold, they changed their style of play. They ran a lot of gap run schemes, and it worked really well. Will you do it again this week against the Ravens? Well, it sounds like that's probably going to be the case because Julian Hill was a non-participant in the first 2 days of practice on the injury designation. It's just about to turn 4 o'clock on Wednesday afternoon. I don't know that the Dolphins are going to be kind to me and put the injury report out ASAP as soon as it happens. But that'd be pretty neat if they did, so I could say with formal confidence that I believe at this stage, based off of short week, non-participation in estimated practices and walkthroughs for Julian Hill, Julian's probably not playing on Sunday. Now, I think Hayden Rusi earned the right to have some more snap opportunities. And this is not the team that you look at what they have on the edge and say, wow, we're really going to be outgunned here with who the Ravens are lining up at edge rusher this season. It's rookie Mike Green. It's Kyle Van Noy. It's potentially Carl Lawson if they elevate him off the practice squad. He just signed there last week. So you should elevate Hayden Rusi if Julian Hill can't go. But that should not preclude you from doing more jumbo sets and playing more 6 offensive line. It worked for you. Embrace it. Do it more. The Ravens are very banged up. They got like Brett Urban's playing meaningful snaps and Broderick Washington's out and having surgery and Nnamdi Madubuike's missing time. Like they have their own personnel losses already, right? And that only underscores for me, like not having Lamar Jackson. Like I want to see this defense who's had momentum in the last couple weeks. I want to see him play Lamar. I want to evaluate them against Lamar. And if it's not good enough and you lose the game and you give up 45 points, you say, okay, evaluation opportunity has been fulfilled. But what if you play him and if you don't play him and you play good, what does it tell you? But what does it tell you if you do play him and you play good? That's the value of what time we have left this season as we get ready to turn the calendar to November already. So it sounds like there's no Ashton Davis. Mike McDaniel kind of said that on Monday with his first interview. Doesn't sound like there's going to be a Julian Hill either based on his injury designation in the first 2 days of the week. By the time this comes out, you will probably have some clarity. Oh, we had a trade that happened while I was recording this. Eagles and Jets trade Michael Carter, John Mechie, and draft picks. Okay, that's cool. Better that than Dolphins trade at this point. If we get any Dolphins trades tonight, I'm not doing another show, I can tell you that. We will do an A to Z article for any trades that happen, but I'd be surprised if anything happens with how quick we are to game day. Now, afterwards, I think we're going to be on standby watch. But I think that's a good thing for what this season needs to be. Lamar Jackson's playing. Mike McDaniel's temptation to just totally forego Jumbo sounds like it's going to be removed by Julian Hill's availability or lack thereof. Bradley Chubb's going to be good to go. Speaking of Bradley Chubb, who we talked about earlier, you really want to put a little extra jolt in your trade value. Go out and ball out on a national broadcast standalone game on a Thursday. Go ahead, Brad. Give us 3 sacks. Why not? What's the worst that could happen? I can tell you what's the best that could happen. You get 3 sacks, you're going to hit that first level of your performance incentives. You're talking about $1 million. So go ahead. Go right ahead. I have a receipt I want to talk about on the show. That's next. We give somebody their flowers here on Locked On Dolphins. Make sure you guys stick with us.
I'm Cody Rourke from Locked On Broncos, and this episode is brought to you by Peloton. Peloton is shaping the future of fitness with the brand new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus, powered by Peloton IQ. This is Peloton's most advanced equipment yet, giving you real-time guidance and endless ways to move, whether you're running, lifting, or you're cross-training with your favorite instructors like Alex Toussaint. It's training reimagined to make your workout more personal. Peloton is built for breakthroughs with features that help you plan, stay motivated, and hit peak performance. You can let yourself run, lift, flex, and go while Peloton handles all the rest. Plus, Peloton IQ provides real-time strength coaching, tracking your progress and suggesting weights that challenge you so you can get stronger. Plus, the new movement tracking camera, it counts your reps and corrects your form in real time, making sure every rep is safer and smarter. So let yourself run, lift, flex, push, and go. Explore the new Peloton Cross-Training Tread Plus at onepeloton.com.
I don't know if you guys saw this or not, but the NFL announced their Week 8 award winners. Did you guys see who won AFC Defensive Player of the Week? Was not Myles Garrett with his 5 sacks, which I knew he had 5 sacks because I did Locked On NFL Scouting that on Monday before I did Locked On Dolphins. But in talking about the film and talking about the performance, I talked about Jordyn Brooks and his performance with 10 tackles and a sack and 3 tackles for loss, man possessed all over the field. I said, man, he played like a AFC Defensive Player of the Week performer. Blacked out. Didn't acknowledge Myles Garrett. The comments reminded me expeditiously on the show that Myles Garrett had 5 sacks against Patriots, but they lost. And lo and behold, Jordyn Brooks, your AFC Defensive Player of the Week in Week 8. So the Dolphins, wins have been hard to come by this season. They've got 2 of them. Jordyn Brooks has 3 of them because he wins AFC Defensive Player of the Week in Week 8 again for his effort against the Falcons, which well-deserved from the film, for sure. That's a player I'm very excited to see continue to maintain his leadership of this team. I think this is a cornerstone player. Everybody and their mother had a conspiracy theory for why the Dolphins restructured his contract last week to create $3 billion in cap space. And Buccaneers fans are all over him thinking that they're going to trade for him, saying, well, here we go. They restructured him to pay more of his money, so he's cheaper to trade for. Well, no. The Dolphins just had like $1 million in cap space per the NFLPA's daily salary cap report and needed operating cap and wiggle room in the event that they had injuries and need to sign more players. So Jordyn Brooks is absolutely the kind of player you do not trade. And I've enjoyed doing trade deadline coverage and talking points and pontificating on what is or isn't going to happen and what they should and shouldn't do and who should or shouldn't be making the decisions with it. But players like Jordyn Brooks are successes in your building, and they're playing at a very high level. He's got 85 tackles this season, and tackles are not a great measure of performance for linebackers in the NFL, right? Because tackles can happen 8 yards downfield, and it's viewed the same as a tackle at the line of scrimmage. But Jordyn Brooks, just like Aaron Brewer, just like Jalen Waddle, just like Devon Achane, these are the guys that can serve as foundational pieces in which you use as a launch point for your vision for the Dolphins moving forward. And I want to give Jordyn Brooks his flowers for winning an award that is very well deserved based off the tape and the influence and impact that's there beyond just the stat sheet. But the stat sheet was impressive against Atlanta. So that entire defensive performance against the Falcons and limiting Bijan Robinson, I'm glad somebody got some national due for it because it was a great effort on their part. And now they have their hands full to do it again against the Ravens on Thursday night. And we'll see what they show up and do, right? This is the last time you'll hear from me solo before the game. I have a crossover Thursday with Locked On Ravens that'll run tomorrow morning on Thursday morning. And then immediately after the game, live on the YouTube channel, we will do the Locked On Dolphins squad show with Jeff Scanina, with Jim Griesheimer, and myself, yours truly. We'll give you reactions for 60 minutes after the game, and then we'll do our post-game show on Friday solo here on Locked On Dolphins. That's going to do it for me here today on the show. Kyle Krabs, keep it locked in right here on Locked On Dolphins, your team every day. Appreciate you guys always checking out the show. I'll talk to you all again tomorrow.